I was thinking that the soundtrack is key in terms of giving the emotion. So I guess there has been a lot of discussion with the director, with the client. Is it the right choice? Right? And so how do you decide, or is it those music are very old one, very new one? So can you tell us a bit more about the music?
Yeah, as I said, the music is a massive part of it, and they've almost become as famous for the music as the advert. It's always an old track. It's always not an old track. It's always a cover of a track. So the first one in Monty, it was an old John Lennon track written for Yoko Ono, and the second one is an old Oasis track. Well, old, like 10 years old Oasis track. Music is always the bit that we argue about. Always, and it's always decided the day before. I think when we first write the thing, everybody gets very excited about the music, and suggestions just come in thick and fast, and it's just what feels right. I think there was 2 tracks for the Man on the Moon, and that one just felt right, and the power of the music within the music industry. So we get people calling us up saying they want to demo, and we've had amazing people demo, and just when you think that, so we've had Chrissy Hine demo, we've had Annie Lennox demo, we've had some brilliant people, and it's always the ones that you are excited to get in. It's like, oh my God, it's coming in, and it comes in, and you're just like, oh, okay. And it's the ones that you don't expect that take you by surprise. That's a consistent. So when you get demos in that you think are going to be good, they never are. I mean, the year before was Lily Allen, and I think that was the most successful one commercially, because that went to @1 and was there for about 4 weeks. But yeah, music is such a big part of it. It's such a big part of it, and the client at John Lewis appreciates that and just says whatever you need to do to get that right.
Okay, thank you. Because and those music are resonating with the heart of English people, or those are they very famous already, even if you do a cover of it?
The John Lennon one, not so much, but the Oasis one, yes. I mean, it was the soundtrack to a program in the UK. And it was written purely by Noel Gallagher, not Liam Gallagher, and it's very famous in the UK, that particular piece of music, just because it was on this program, and also it was a B-side, an Oasis B. If we're getting musically geeky, it was an Oasis B-side that somebody discovered. So this is amazing, put it out, and Noel Gallagher's one of Noel Gallagher's favourite tracks.
How do you extend the concept of the film or the story of the Man on the Moon?
How we extended it.
Campaign, yeah.
So we have. So this is launched. I mean, do you want to?
Sure. Well, thanks. I think last year in Monty we did a lot and we learnt a lot from it. And though digital seems quite good, it actually is quite time consuming. And when you put these amazing toy machines into the busiest shop and the busiest time of year, sometimes it's a bit hard to manage. So we went for fewer, bigger, better this year. And I suppose the things that we did to amplify it, well, one, we did create an app again this year, but very different to previous years, where the Monty and the year before, Bear and the Hare, were storytelling, I suppose. This year, because the Man and Moon, not to say isn't a story, we've created something a bit more gamify, so that kids can play around trying to get things up to the Man on the Moon. And we've created an incredible kind of augmented reality, you're probably familiar with, inbuilt into the app. So you can scan our bags, our click and collect parcels, our windows, these posters and the real moon, thank you, of the moon, and it will pop it to life. So we've used it to be a bit educational and fun, if that could possibly be paired. So we have to get you demos. It's very, very good. So the app is really huge, and we've gone after that in a really big way this year. Rick's point earlier is AACC, so that because the ad makes you think about your relationship with older people, obviously a man stuck up there, we've worked really hard with a charity called AACC who will look after elderly. And so it would be great to show that they've created an amazing 30-second ad for them with Man on the Moon as the character for them. So we've gone after the charity, using the ad as a force for good, for better, is a real big part of amplifying it this year. And thirdly, what's about to launch next week is, do you have Black Friday here? Hopefully, yeah, sadly so. So do we. I suppose Christmas is very much a sort of a tale of two halves now. So we've got the November period of Christmas and launching the beautiful emotional advert. After Black Friday, after this weekend, after tomorrow, we'll come back, because obviously as a retailer we need to drive sales, not discounted, full price sales as much as we can in December. So we've worked with a lot of key suppliers like PlayStation, Canon, GoPro, and a few others. And you know where that hero shot of the balloon, obviously the telescope delivering the balloon's delivering the telescope to the Man on the Moon. We've got product interspersed there. So we've actually created trade adverts, I suppose, 10-second tails that will help drive product in December. So it's quite unusual for us, because we normally just launch the ad and let it do its thing. But this year we've had to be a bit more tactical just to help with the commercials this year. So those are the three kind of things to amplify it.
I think James touched on the point there that this year we've not shied away. We've deliberately not gone down the. We've tried to be a bit more educational. So anything that we've got about the moon and in store, we've got activity packs, but it's about moon facts and so it's this cold on the moon, or it's this, or it's that. So it's a lot more educational than just producing a soft toy. And obviously the charity element as well has been massive. The 30-second ad we've created is, I've not got it, but it's essentially showing the shoot. So we're sort of like pulling down the curtain, and you see the set, and you see the man left alone on the set at the end. So it's for John Lewis, it's very, very brave to sort of burst the bubble of the myth, but they've done it, and it's really powerful.
Yes, just what I really like to end up quickly is that when we speak about integration, usually in France, around the world, we're thinking, okay, first we need to find a big idea, and then we'll do TV and etc. And this is exactly the opposite. It's let's celebrate a great TVC, like a great feature films, and then start to how can we build on this emotion and to spread the idea in different channels. So I think you're demonstrating that sometimes you can start by one piece of content and then start to thinking about integration, which doesn't mean necessarily replicating, in small poster.
No, it's not matching luggage. I mean, I think that the TV we were so the boy, the first one that sort of created this extravaganza that we've got now. I mean, the integration in that was minimal. I mean, it was the TV ad and that's it. And then year on year, it's grown bigger and bigger, and we've got more desire. Like the clients got more desire to do it, and they want more fame, basically. But we would be crazy to turn around and say, okay, right, we're going to start with what's the big idea? We are going to, next year on the 6th of November, we are going to have to go out with something big. We are, because whilst we think in one way, the public thinks in a completely different way, and they want to see it. They will want to see it. And there's been a lot of talk this year about we need to freshen things up, and we need to do things different, and blah, blah, blah. We do. But we need to give them, if we don't go out at all next year with something that they want, the backlash will be worse.
In France, the average size of TVCs are around 20 seconds, and obviously you need time to tell the story. So we'd like to ask you, how do you deal with that? How do you explain to clients that a long format could be a very interesting media plan and for creativity?
I think long format has got a little bit out of control in the UK. So Christmas ads have always been big things. So they've always been 60 seconds. I think we took it to 2 minutes and owning an ad break to make it into a spectacle. But that only runs once or twice on launch weekend. Then it's down to 60s, 30s, and 10s we're doing now. But we don't treat it as a media schedule in terms of it's an event. It's a premiere, and I think this year Sainsbury's has just launched with a 3.5 minute one, which is nonsense, absolute nonsense. But we limit ourselves to 2, and we always have the argument: is it 90 or is it 2? But never more than 2.
A very different question about the director, because we know Dougal Wilson is the one who is very associated to the brand now from a long time ago. Is it Dougal who is?
No.
Really,
no, it's not.
I didn't recognize this.
No, it's not. It's not. Dougal, we shot a commercial earlier. We do 2 bursts a year, so we do Christmas and we do either insurance or different things. And we shot one with Dougal. We spoke to Dougal about it, but there was a treatment came in from a young director called Kim Gehrig that just blew us away. And this was very hard to produce because we was like, do we tell it? There's a physical thing about a man looking at a little girl through a telescope, and we were like, we don't want to go anywhere near that. And how do we get around that? And we got around that. We looked at animation. We looked at a mixture of animation and live action. And we looked at live action, and there was a decision made very early on saying, no, live action, it has to be live action. We just have to be very sensitive about it. And actually, the guy who is in there is a relatively, he tells me he's famous, French mime artist. So he walked in, and we just knew that he was the man on the moon because he just had this amazing expressive face, and could control his face. And I mean, obviously, we've had criticism, like a couple of people have said that, but that reflects more on them than it does on us.
A couple of Integral sessions ago, we had The Guardian, and it was kind of interesting to hear how the marketing director, well, they produce content themselves, but the marketing director explained us that they literally moved in the offices of BBH when they were working on the Three Little Pigs idea, and they set up kind of a room where the client was based in the agency, and with the weekly meetings with the media guys. And my question is there any different way you've been working with the client or the relationship between you guys in the creative ping pong you can have to bring out such an integrated, great example? Or did you just manage to deal the process differently, building the architecture of the campaign differently, or it was just good energies, but the dynamics were the usual ones?
That's a good question. To be honest, it feels like a bit like a maternity working with Rick sometimes. But we spend all year together. That's the reality. I mean, we meet weekly. Once the script is signed off, which was March last year, we'll literally meet Adam and Eve, OMD, the clients, and then it just goes round, you know. And I think it's probably very similar to the Guardian. Actually, you spend a lot of time together, and you come up with ideas together, and you argue, and you challenge, and you because obviously.
There's one interesting point that Manning did last year, which was we went with the idea to people, just to Google, to this one, and we just said, here's the idea, what can you do for us? Which is where the Microsoft thing came from, and Channel 4 said, well, if you launch with us, we can give you the idents, and we can give you this, and we can give you that, and we can give you a premiere. And Google said, well, we can do the first. So we literally went with a script and said, this is what we've got. These are some of the ideas we've got. But what can you know a lot more than we do about what you can offer. And we had these amazing meetings where we just literally went around town as a threesome, John Lewis, Manning, and Adam and Eve, and we just spoke as a combined unit to these media owners.
We know a lot about the storytelling, the emotional engagement that your campaigns create. What I found interesting was the point you touched on at the end about having to be this year more pragmatic in the second part of the moving forward. With the trade ads, for example. How do you craft those? Because you've only got 10 seconds. We know that it's an emotional campaign. Is it just Pack Shot Moon product, or no. How do you keep the sensitivity in there?
I think the one thing that we pride ourselves on from everything is there's the quality of the story, but there's also the quality of the craft. And I think the 10-second blip verts, the 10-second sort of product things. So they are literally balloons coming through screen, beautifully shot in space, carrying whatever it is. So if it's a Canon camera, it's on its way to the moon. So it's almost, because we thought about this as also sequentially. It's like once they've established contacts, she could send loads of things up. So it's almost after the event. So we were very careful not to play, like to ruin what had gone beforehand for the sake of. And Black Friday's changed everything. Black Friday in the UK has changed everything for retailers because it's a crazy sort of shit fest to get. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible, but it exists. Part of creating the idea is a visual language that we can take through wherever we need to go. So last year it was the penguin walking across things, and this year it's the balloons. So we can turn it up or turn it down depending on how sort of down and dirty we need to be.
I have a question regarding the process really of cracking the idea, because you were talking about, and Olivier was underlining the fact that you build something and then you start building on top of and around, I would say, the first ad. Yes. Coming back to the idea, when you sort of talked the client through the strategy, was it all about imagination? Or was it with the actual with the script also to express it? Or was it, again, the strategy first and then trying to find the best execution? Or is it just one shot?
The strategy has been the same for the last 5 years. And almost we don't brief teams with briefs anymore. The strategy is thoughtful gifting. And every single ad can be underlined with that strategy. We'll never use that as an end line, because the end lines can change. So last year it was give something they've been dreaming of. This year it's show someone they loved. But the underlying strategy that pins it all together is thoughtful gifting. So we never have to have strategy meetings with a client because it's so broad and it's so easy to write to as a creative. So at creative presentations you literally present the script and you could do this, and this with it. And one of them was be toys, or one of them can be, and we want to own the penguin enclosure at London Zoo, or all those sort of crazy ideas that get whittled down. But no, presenting scripts this year, for Man on the Moon, we went in with 6 scripts, and we just presented all wildly different. But we knew that Man on the Moon was the one that we wanted to go with. And in fairness, they were said, well, okay, it's a one-horse race, let's just sign it off and go. And we've got such a great relationship with them that sort of thing can happen.
I was wondering if the fact that this retailer is a cooperative is a part of the success, or do you think you could have that kind of success with any retailer in the UK?
It's funny. That question at the moment is I get asked a lot, and the situation in the UK at the moment is getting a little bit. I don't know if you agree with me. It's getting a little bit absurd. In terms of everybody wants a John Lewis, everybody wants the fame and notoriety of what we've created, and so there's a massive supermarket called Sainsbury's who have just gone out with a 3.5 second commercial which is a borrowed interest of a children's book, and it's beautifully done and it's really well done. We're yet to see whether that translates into sales. I mean, I know all supermarkets are struggling massively at the moment, but yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Well, we were actually chatting about this last night while having a beer. I think the problem is you need to be true to your brand. I mean, John Lewis is the place you go, and it's quite emotional because you'll go there for your first school uniform, or you'll go there because you get married and you'll have your wedding gift list there, or when you have your first child, you'll have your nursery. So playing in that thoughtful giving, that extra mile space is really, aligned with the brand. So, I think it has to be true to what your brand stands for as a retailer, and that's probably my point of view on it.
I have just a very basic question, because we are talking about integration and you were talking about return on investment, but would it be possible to have an idea of the global budget of this kind of campaign?
It's big. No, I mean, combined, oh God, probably about £6 million. So with, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, maybe 7 million actually then. 7 million, yeah. But then, then obviously the merchandise and stuff like that is taken on board by John Lewis themselves.
So I just want to thank you all for coming this morning. Thank you, the AACC. Thank you, Club des Annonceurs. Thank you, everyone from both parts. And mostly, thank you to both of you to join. I hope that next year we will have something as amazing to present in London. And thank you for coming this morning. Thank you, everyone.